Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you an interesting trap in the Sicilian defense. It could happen quite often actually against certain closed Sicilian setups. And without further ado, let's get into the trap. So I named it the 3-check Sicilian trap. 3 plus is for 3-check because there's this variant, 3 checks. I hope most of you are familiar with it. I love that variant, and actually I have worked a lot on it and have worked on parts of a book on it, but haven't worked on it in a long time, but hoping to come back to it. The book, that is, and the variant as well. I haven't worked on 3 checks theory in a while. Anyway, I call it the 3 checks trap because there's this certain line in 3 checks. I'm going to show you it now, and then we'll compare it to the Sicilian trap. So in 3 checks, you play c5. Usually in 3 checks against 1 e4, which is probably the best move. Well, not probably, it's almost certainly. e6 or c5 are basically the only replies. c6 as well. And so here we go into this e6 setup to prevent the checks from the bishop and the knight. And white chooses this normal setup, developing the bishops, and he wants to play this. So if we move our knight, maybe he will take here with check. 3 checks is a variant. It's basically the regular chess you're all familiar with, orthodox chess, but the added rules are that, or rule is that if you can check your opponent 3 times, you win, and it's a cumulative effect. So you don't have to check him 3 times or her 3 times in a row. You can do it 3 times in the entire game. So knight d4 here, it does allow this check, but usually it's not, in 3 checks, usually it's not worth it to give up a piece for 1 check. So takes, and knight e2, and now we get queen g5, forking these 2 pieces. So knight takes d4 is played, thinking, well, I'll just regain the pawn, or actually white here wins a pawn. And if we take on g2, I just move rook f1 and I'm fine. Sorry, you can't do rook f1 here because queen takes e4 would be at least 1 check, and the second would come very soon. But instead, after queen takes g2, you have queen f3. Anyway, I don't want to delve into 3 checks too much here. The point of this video is the Sicilian trap. So here you play bishop c5, attacking this knight, and if the knight is defended, you just take the knight and take the bishop, and you're up a piece. Notice, 1 piece, 2 pieces for black. And the point in 3 checks, at least, why you play bishop c5 is that if the knight comes here, now you can take with check, that's 1 check, and if the king takes, 2 checks, and wherever the king moves, 3 checks, and it's checkmate. Okay? So returning back here, basically bishop c5 completely wins. Knight takes d4 is simply completely unplayable. Here, if white reaches this position, his best bet is bishop d3, whereupon queen takes g2 and knight g3, queen h3 kind of ideas. This is a different line and probably better for black. Okay, so how do I compare this with the orthodox chess trap? What happened in the normal Sicilian? So forget about 3 checks, this is a chess video, an orthodox chess video. So e4, c5, the Sicilian defense, knight c3, e6, knight f3. So knight c3 is the closed variation of the Sicilian, you can see it here on Lichess. And e6 simply, again, it's kind of similar to 3 checks. You don't want this light squared bishop to be strong. You kind of play an anti-light squared strategy. So knight f3, normal developing move. Maybe after knight c6 now, black can transpose, white can transpose back to the regular open lines with d4, with knight c3 early on inserted. But black chooses to forgo that and go into bishop b5, similar to what we've seen in the 3 checks one, right? Bishop b5 here, it's the exact same position. So returning back to orthodox chess, we play knight d4 here, and white's best bet is to castle, whereupon we have this knight e7, g6, a6 plan, and white is probably slightly better here. You really can't, for you guys out there who love the bishop pair, you have to play probably a6 immediately. You can't do this because you're way behind in development. Like here, d4 is coming, rook e1 check, bishop f4. This is very dangerous for black. So after the mistake here is to takes and knight e2, and after queen g5 we're back to the same plan that happened, the same opening that happened, the same trap. And knight takes d4 is a slight error, but here you can rectify this error again by going bishop d3. And the problem is, what happens if white thinks, oh yeah, I'll just pick up the pawn, and after queen takes g2 to play queen f3. After queen takes g2, queen f3, white would have a slight edge, because the pawns are equal, but white has 2 pieces out. So the problem here is that here, instead of bishop c5, which doesn't work here because of knight f3, and in 3 checks I can take on f2 check and win the game. But in regular chess, if I take on f2, I would be a big dum-dum. So the key move here is queen c5. This actually forces white to lose a piece. The reason, of course, is that after c3, I play e5, dislodging this defender of this piece, and then the piece would be lost. b4 is a nice try in principle, because if I move the queen, then the bishop wouldn't be lost. But I can still maintain contact with this bishop. And after something like queen e2, or the knight now has to move, I simply take the knight. Or if the knight moves, I take the bishop. So the trap here is that after queen g5, many people would take on d4. And then you have this queen c5, which is completely winning. If you look at the engine, minus 1.7. It says the best move is to immediately sacrifice the piece. And it gives -1 because there's some compensation, because white has 2 pawns for the piece. So exactly the amount of pawns for the piece being compensated. But yeah, so let's take a look at the trap again. So it arises from the closed Sicilian. And after knight d4 and taking, we go this queen g5, and then queen c5 is completely winning. Now let me show you one game where this actually happened against a 2200 rated blitz player. I'm here, Fishy Vishy, 2400 rated, and look at what happened. So exactly the same trap happened. See, knight takes d4 is an inaccuracy, and knight takes d4 now is an inaccuracy. So what's funny about this trap is that both knight takes d4 on move 5 and move 7 are inaccuracies. The engine doesn't mention knight takes d4 being an inaccuracy though, because the alternative bishop d3 isn't that much better. It kind of is, but I mean, load of stockfish doesn't think it is. So I played c3, e5. We actually went into the same exact line, and here he decided to play knight f5. The engine recommendation that I showed you earlier was queen e2. So we played knight f5. I took a4. I don't know what purpose it serves. I played queen d3, preventing d4 and attacking e4 at the same time. And if ever like f3, I'm going to play d5 and just open up everything and let my bishop strongly attack his knight. So I played knight g3, avoiding that, knight f6. And now I was thinking d5 immediately, which should also be good. But I decided to play h5 just to perhaps annoy his knight. He should have probably immediately reacted with h4, but he did not. He played the c4. A bit of a weird move, but really clamping down on d5. Now he wants to play knight f5 and not have me play d5. But I can take here, I can take b4, so really nothing doing here. So I took b4. I could probably take c4, I could probably play h4, whatever. So he played knight f5, attacking g7, and I simply took another pawn. Why not? If knight takes g7 check, I just move here, and now he'll have to waste even more time with the knight. And I'm doing splendidly after this move, really destroying his center, attacking the knight. I really need to get better at drawing arrows. So I played knight e3, attacking the queen, and here queen d4. I went for a cheapo. The best move was queen d3. Yeah, I should have blocked his pawn, but it's already blocked, right? So yeah, okay, queen d4. And he played rook b1 and fell for my cheapo. See, that's why the pawn is already can't move, because I have this. But the problem here is that he can probably castle. And while this doesn't really, of course I'm simply up a piece here, and he doesn't have any compensation. I'm up a piece and a pawn actually. But he would have at least had some chances maybe to trick me with some activity, because my king is very unsafe and my pieces are a bit discombobulated. So yeah, that's the trap, and I thought it was really interesting that it worked against a 2200 rated player. And it's something that could happen very often if you play this system against this bishop b5 idea and the Sicilian defense French variation. So it's something that could happen very often. And queen c5, you just win the game. Okay guys, thanks for watching this video.